Hello and thank you for tuning into this video. Thank you so much if you haven't seen these videos before for watching, and welcome. And then welcome back for all of you guys that have been watching. I am very grateful for you wanting to share this now moment in general with one another. And I am setting my intention now for this to be for benevolence for all and alignment with the highest levels of love light. And, of course, this is all about raising the frequency and the vibration with one another and on Mother Earth. So I just wanted to give a quick update and kind of see what comes through. Some of the energies that have been coming through for us specifically, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Ascension symptoms, and branch out from there. So basic, drink a lot of water. Eat what you feel guided to eat. I have been hungry, and then not hungry at all. Been exhausted and just want to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden I'll get this influx of energy, and then it kind of levels out a little bit. So the way that my guidance team has been sharing this information with me is instead of being like a rubber band, try to be more like a wave band or a band width. And the word is all about stabilize. So I'll be offering a light language video to assist in stabilizing the energies. You can set your intention to stabilize the frequencies. Generally, I will ask to anchor or intend to anchor the frequencies and the energies coming in. And then stabilize has been the additional word. And grounding is important in sometimes we may feel like we want to lift off or at the high rubber band. And then other times we might feel like we are just exhausted and can't move a limb. And that's when it's important to just drink a lot of water and get plenty of rest. Everybody's in a different phase from my perspective. Some of the beautiful beings that I've been working with in one-on-one work they've all been going through different processes. So it's not like we can say anymore, all right, we're going through sacral chakra. I mean, there are some people that are going through sacral chakra expansion right now, but there's a lot of people that have integrated those energies and are just feeling the waves, essentially. From my perspective, it's more of an individual. Okay, let me take that back. It's not that we're going through our own individual journey. So for one person that I've worked with, their individual journey is has to do with their third eye. Somebody else that I've worked with has to do with their legs. They have a lot of things going on with their legs, and they feel like they can't move, and they're very achy. Other beings I'm working with are still working on opening up their heart. So every body, when I say body, I'm seeing physical, etheric, causal, emotional bodies. Think of a nesting doll or an egg, one on top of the other. So we're all different. On the flip side, or on a more expansive level, we're all part of the collective consciousness. So a lot of energy is clearing from the collective right now, and this is partly what we are all feeling. Now, I had a session earlier with this beautiful being of light that I am working with, that I have the honor to work with, and she is a grid worker and a light worker. And part of what we discuss is the fact that she and I are helping to stabilize the grid, the new Earth grid. Without going into too much detail on what exactly that means, keeping it simple, maybe we'll call this a Keep It Simple Starseeds video, is stabilize. So essentially there are people that came here to specifically assist with that. Starseeds in general, part of the mission is to assisting in stabilizing these new energies and frequencies coming in. and to anchor them into our bodies and into the field that surrounds us and into Mother Earth Gaia, or to receive the energies. It works both ways. However, what's happening is there's a lot of people in the collective that are not awake, or they are just waking up. And the way that the picture was shown to me is that there's timelines that are collapsing. And they are from, without drawing a picture, I'll just try to keep it simple and do another video with the pictures. Not that my artwork really helps explain anything at all. But essentially, if you picture a toroidal donut or picture a braid, if you're familiar with, you know, a hair braid, you take and braid 3 strands, or you've seen braided bread before. Everybody pretty much knows what braided rope looks like. And let's pretend that you're weaving together past, present, and future. And my guidance team was describing it like dough. So let's say you're baking bread. And you've got all your ingredients. They're dry ingredients and wet ingredients. And then you mush it all together. Okay? So you put all these ingredients together, and it's one with lots of different little additives. And you knead the bread. You mush it all together, and it's basically coagulated, okay? And then what happens is you pull that apart. Still comes from the same place, but now you have these 3 pieces of dough, essentially. And this is a play on words, guys, because it's music as well. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So I'm a little bit of flow here. A lot of flow. Trying to stabilize and not go, oh my God, I'm so full of energy right now, because that's the way it feels. Although earlier today, I could have just gotten back in bed and stayed in bed most of the day because I was so tired. So you've got these 3 pieces of dough, and you essentially melt them together in a braid. But they're still separate. They have their own shape. But when you bring them together, they fold into one another. And then I see them twisting. So if you picture them separate yet together, side by side, picture it like 3 tubes. And let's say, for example, those tubes are old me, current me, and future me. Old you, current you, future you. Okay, and your 3 tubes, and you're braided together. It's like these energies right now are allowing us to connect and essentially absorb the energies in bandwidths. Okay, so it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? And so they're intermingling together because of the planetary alignment, because of the solar activations, because of everything lining up in this matrix, so to speak. So picture locks all kind of clicking into place, and now you've got these lineups with these 3 different strands. We could call it DNA as well. Braiding together, and now you take this dough, keeping it separate yet, and you bake it. So now it comes back into one piece of bread. Okay, let me go back for a moment before I finish baking the bread. So these timelines will say past you, current you, future you are essentially all connecting and shifting. So some of those timelines, even though they're weaved into this braid, are collapsing. Old fields are collapsing. So I'm going to go off on a sidebar on that in just a minute. Now what's happening is that bread is now being put in the oven. Sun, heat, alchemy. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. We have to let it sit, right? So the bread, before you actually put it in the oven and bake it, it has to sit. And all of those ingredients have to kind of marinate or rise up. So it's like this is the process, and it's limitless, infinite numbers and loaves of bread, okay? And essentially it all comes from the same place, it all comes from the same ingredients, but it looks a little different every time. You still have to give it time to rise to the occasion, to the ascension, to the higher choices, rising to this higher field of expansion and expression. And then from after that dough rises, then those are braided together, okay? And you're bringing in bits of the past, the present, and the future to form this baked bread, which is then alchemized into food, right? But it's also alchemized into a new shape that is then taken, eaten, digested, and so on and so forth. Now, that was just a little metaphor or analogy for essentially what's happening to us now. So we're in the oven. We're being baked. We're expanding out. We're rising in the oven as well. We are essentially morphing into one big braided loaf of bread, yet there's still that separation that's there, but we're becoming one. So that light body is integrating into us. I talked earlier about those versions of our bodies, our emotional, our etheric, or causal. It's kind of like that's all braiding together right now. We've got sound waves that are braiding together. We've got colors that are forming together. We've got chakra membranes for some people that are coming together. And essentially these separate colors, these, and I'm talking about in the rainbow, are becoming the rainbow, like just intermingling and interweaving. And when I talk about that, we're talking about frequency, light, mathematical equations, sound, harmonics, vibration. And so we're all feeling this. Okay. So the collective. On all of us are at different levels of we're either being thrown together, the ingredients, we're being baked, we're expanding, we're ready to go to the next loaf of bread. I'm just giving this as a really basic example so you can kind of see this interweaving of energies becoming an end result through alchemy, heat, through ingredients, through mixing, through kneading, through waiting, through expanding, and essentially combining past, present, and future. So what you've got though is you've got people who are not wanting to braid their energies, but they don't realize that it's happening anyways. So whether people realize it or not, I know there's a lot of talk out there that, will you make it? Are people going to ascend? Are they going to make this, whatever it's called? From my perspective, it's already happened. Yes, it's happening for people at different points or in different grid systems or different levels. But let's say, for example, you've got a family member and it's not like that family member is going, now they might disappear. They may disappear off the face of the earth. They may move on, meaning there's a lot of people that are leaving by deciding to move from this lifetime perhaps into another lifetime, if that's what resonates with you. There's people that are wishing to essentially just disappear and not be part of your life. So from that perspective, okay. But I'm talking about, like, for my family, for example, everybody's at different levels. And the where that I'm resonating, when I'm around them, when you are around them, you are essentially assisting them through this journey without even having to tell them, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to eat. This is how you need to act. By them being in your presence, they're going to feel differently. And that's a whole other video. But all I'm saying is that light workers, we're stabilizing, we're assisting, we're helping stabilize just by being us. And I'm not saying taking on responsibility of saying I have to help this person, I have to help that person. Just by being the bread, just by being who we are, rising to the ascension occasion of love and light, will assist us in feeding the collective with love and light. I could go many different places with this. I haven't even gotten into the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Having said that, you've got a lot of people, I use this as an example with during the session. There's a lot of people, as we stabilize the grid, that are destabilizing. And we know who those people are. We see them on television if we choose to feed into that network. We see them with friends and family and so on and so forth. Part of what they're going through is these timelines, from my perspective. Old past timelines are collapsing, or perhaps even future timelines are collapsing. And just play with me for a moment. You don't have to understand exactly what timelines are. Let's pretend, though, that you existed in, let's say, a cataclysmic event. And again, I'm sharing this as a session work I had with someone, which brought me into awareness of what's going on. And you are currently processing emotions from that event. There's also thousands of other soul groups and people that went through and experienced that cataclysmic event. That particular collective is now, because that timeline is being brought forth or processed, collapsing, so to speak, people are feeling that. Then on this other timeline, because this other soul group, let's say they went through something that was traumatic in a different way, and they're feeling that timeline collapse because those timelines existed on an old third-dimensional Earth. So, and thank you for following me on this. If you're not following me, that's okay. A lot of energy is coming through this, guys, as I share this with you. So we got a lot of activations and downloads coming through. So we're talking about now you've got two timelines going, and the old system that supported those, they happened, but everything's happening now, right? So technically, that past is happening now. And as that old system falls away because it is no longer supported in the 3D matrix field, it essentially sucks in this energy, or let's say it implodes. And that energy is felt because you, for example, existed when this cataclysmic event happened. You had a body, you had emotions, you had feelings associated with that, and perhaps you carried it over into this lifetime through your DNA, your blood, whatever. And as these activations occur that we're getting from this new grid or from these new planetary alignments, they help us process, integrate, and let go of those old memories, triggers, and events that no longer are needed in the dough of this particular loaf of bread that has already been baked and is being digested and released back into the source of oneness so that it can be digested, integrated, and made into a new creation. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, according to Einstein. So it goes back to source in the form of energy and is, I shouldn't say created, it is formed, reformed into something else. Just like when you digest food, it becomes energy for your body to then be transferred, etc., etc. So these timelines are collapsing. These realities are no longer supported, and you've got people that are freaking out. So they're feeling this pull of this old energy, and we are too. The light workers, so some people might be feeling it physically in sickness. Maybe there was an energy of the Black Plague, and that is now what's being, timeline is collapsing or integrated, so to speak. There's this energy of, possibly Atlantis. I'm using that as an example. Multiple events that islands were eaten up by the ocean, not just one, right? Whatever these are being felt by the masses in different ways. Now, that's one version. So, as an empath, as a light worker, we feel that. So, not only are we perhaps connected to many of those timelines, a few of those timelines, one of those timelines, we're feeling those effects in our own way. We're also connecting to the collective that is feeling the effects from all of those, and we are assisting in stabilizing these new energies that are coming in to assist us in uplifting us, right? And letting go of that old stuff that was a part of us for so long. And that so many of us are really feeling, wow, I'm tired. Wow, I'm not able to balance. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling good. So it's a little bit like this. That's one version. There's so much more. So the other version that I'm seeing is also the earth is going through this because the earth is collapsing these timelines because there were cataclysmic events on the earth. And she's feeling all of this. So she's shedding this old skin as well. And we're connected to the earth. In addition to that, we're experiencing and expressing perhaps future timelines. Now, what I'm seeing is, without going any deeper, a convergence is happening. So picture the braid, and all of these things are kind of mushing together right now to create, let's say, this. Okay? And it's kind of doing this in a wave, if that makes sense, like a toroidal donut. And as these knead back in together and are let go and stabilized and balanced for the new energies to come in, we're also feeling those new energies. We're feeling the sun's activations. We're feeling the assistance and the guidance from our star brothers and sisters, our ancestors, our guides, whatever you're resonating with, from all different places, because it's some type of alignment. It's again like keyholes lining up on locks. You know, one keyhole was here. Let's picture the universe, and you've got a hole here in this, let's say, a grid, and a hole was poked through this part of the grid. We'll call it, picture the magnetic field around the earth. And some light was able to get through. And so that's anchoring it. And then some more light was able to get through and anchor in. And so as these keyholes line up, all right, we've got, let's say, Sirian energies lining up through. We've got Andromedan energies lining up through. We've got Lyran energies lining up through, because everything is clicking into place because of the time collapsing. And now we're able to access these fields that we weren't lined up with before. We were just missing it, or we were just grazing it, or we were just barely getting into the alignment, and we could get a few of those. Now it's like boom, 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 boom. Everything is lining up. And as these line up, that light that might have been deflected or bounced off is anchoring in to our bones, our blood, our heart, our organs, our cells, our communication, and we're like plugged in. So they're plugged in too. And so that 4D, 3D is collapsing to make it simplified. Should have started with that, but and the 5D, 6D, 7D, and other higher dimensions are settling, kind of anchoring in, so to speak, feeding that energy in, and we're kind of waffling between the two. There are many of us that are already anchored into the 5D. There are many of us that are anchored into multiple dimensional frequencies. There are those, I'm going to go back to, that are stuck, so to speak, in the old systems, that are struggling to get out. And some of them are going to collapse. I see them imploding in on themselves. What does this mean? They might lose it. They may now, the extreme end of the spectrum is they may decide that they don't want this. They may decide to leave Earth entirely. However they decide to do that. They may become so ill because they're not able to, they might decide they're done and become sick and pass on and move on so that they can come back in at a different energy. I could go on and on. Some people will become very sick. Some people it's possible that they are so all of a sudden it's like car accident after breaking their leg and stubbing their toe and almost drowning. And, so there's these implosion. And I see people, the picture that my guides send me are these tornadoes, these funnels. Let's say this is the earth and it's an old timeline collapsing and it's this tornado. And I see like a person kind of getting sucked into this tornado of energy and they're not sure how to get out. They can kind of see, there's this group of people. Other people are just going to get sucked in and they can't see anything but the flying debris because they're in that field of 4D, 3D collapsing in on themselves. So the ascension for them has happened. Is it necessarily going to happen in this lifetime? I can't say. That's not something, maybe not. It's happening for the humanity as a whole, but it's not necessarily going to happen in all pockets in the way that we might feel that it should, or in the way that it actually is visualized for some of us. Then there's those that are stuck in the vortex, the black hole, the implosion, and they just can't quite figure out how to get out. And that's where the stabilization and all the help that we're getting, they might actually be able to find their footing on a piece of flying debris and climb out of their tornado hole and dust themselves off and go, I survived, now what? And that's where a lot of the starseeds are going to come in and say, take my hand, how can I help? And many of you are already doing that. It's a beautiful thing. Now, these pockets of collapsing timelines are based on old systems. So Hollywood, politics, government, finances. Now, I want to touch briefly on that because I'm not certainly saying that's all going to fall apart and implode on itself. We see it imploding on itself already in pockets. Is the whole system done? Well, we also have this new energy anchoring in, and there's still a foundation that we have of old systems that are, I'm hearing, ancient wisdom. So what's happening is revival of old ways, connecting with the earth and farming in a different way. So I see companies that were really locked into this old system, and now they're like, we can't anchor in anymore. And so they're spinning, they're either going to spin out of control and go out of business, or they're going to reinvent themselves. And in doing that, it will, whether intentional or not, raise their vibration, raise their frequency, expand in that field. And whether by accident or divine design, these companies that were really vampiric are either going to implode on themselves and go into their collapsing and continue to collapse and be gone, eaten up by the universe and spit out into the digestive system to be reabsorbed and used as energy. Or they will see what's going on, and the new, I'm seeing pockets, those little holes that have been poked into the grid, the starseeds that have been implanted into these old systems. I see companies that were not necessarily originally created around love and light. They've been infiltrated by starseeds. And I see these starseeds being the new growers, so to speak, of ancient knowledge, tapping into these timelines or future versions of ourselves in old ancient ways that aren't what our grandparents did, but they're what our great grandparents and grandmothers, grandfathers, star brothers and sisters did, that were lost in the matrix of 3 and 40, that are now here because we've been raised up and we're seeing it now. It's able to poke the light into this system because we're in a new grid. Okay. Now, I also see this politicians, government, and Hollywood. You've got people in Hollywood that are awake. Are they making the most amount of noise? Not right now. Will they? We'll see. I have, you know, there are those starseeds that are in Hollywood that are making waves, planting seeds, and when that old system collapses, then we're there. In love and light, guys. I hope this helped a little bit. I'll have another video next couple days to go a little deeper. Namaste.